Hello there, hope you're doing well. This is Olivia from Upstream Safaris, and today we are going to talk about the best time to have a safari in either Uganda or Rwanda. What is the most suitable season for you to have a safari in one of these two countries? And we are talking about both Rwanda and Uganda mainly because these two countries share the same geographical location. They are actually neighbors, so they share very many things in common, and one of them is the weather conditions. So the weather conditions of Rwanda are relatively the same with those of Uganda. When it's a wet season in Rwanda, it's most likely the wet season in Uganda, and when it's a dry season in Rwanda, automatically it will be a dry season in Rwanda because they are relatively close, so they share the weather conditions. So when we are discussing the best time for you to have a safari in Rwanda, and we've said that one of the determinants of this is the weather. And in Uganda, we have two seasons, that is the wet season and then the dry season. We are talking about the weather. The wet season and the dry season. The wet season is normally there between March and end of May, and then the dry season will start in June up to December, around there. And then when we come to tourism as a business, we have three seasons. We have the low season, that is mainly during the wet season when it's raining, and then we have the high season, and then we have the peak season. The high season is normally there between mid-December and up to February. And then the peak season is between June and mid-September. So from June to mid-September, from June up to around the end of September, that's the peak season. That's when almost all the national parks are full with tourists. Many tourists will consider coming to Uganda or to Rwanda during between June and then end of September. And then between mid-December to mid-February, it's a high season. The tourists are there, but they are not as many as during the peak season. Yes. So in case you're planning to come to Uganda or to Rwanda and you've considered the three seasons, you can choose which one you feel will be to your taste. Because these three seasons, they all have their disadvantages and the advantages. For example, if we are talk of the low season, when the clients are very few because of the rain, and then we see that in Uganda, even if it's raining, we don't have those heavy storms or heavy winds that will really disrupt your safari. Though the rains are there, but they are not as much heavy as that you can't have a safari. But then for those who don't like walking during the rainy season, you want to be indoor when it's rainy, then you should leave out the wet season. But then when you come to wet season, since the tourists are very few, you'll find that you will be almost the only one in a national park that you've chosen. The tourists in the national parks during that season will be very few, making the national park less congested. So when you're coming to a safari and you choose to come during the wet season, you'll have advantages such as being in the national park when it's less congested, and then another advantage will be the fact that during low seasons, the accommodations, the lodges and hotels charge slightly a lower price because the demand for these accommodations is very low. Therefore, they will try to lower their prices to be able to get clients. So you come during the wet season, your expenditure will be slightly lower than those who come during the high season or those who come during the peak season. So if you consider the lower season, you consider the wet season and you feel like you can endure the rains, you can endure the muddy the muddy roads, then feel free to come during the wet season, because as I have already told you, the advantages of being in Uganda during the low season, or call it wet season. And then if you come during the high season, almost the advantages might be the same with those during the wet season, because one of the advantages that you will get when you come during the high season is that accommodation rates will still be slightly lower, though not the same with during low season, yes, but it will be cheaper than when you come during the peak season. And also the congestion will be not as much as during the peak season, yes. So you can consider coming during the high season. You can consider coming during the low season, as we've already told you the advantages. And then if you feel like for you, you will get time during the peak season, it's also still okay. You can come during the peak season, because very many tourists come during the peak season. But then the disadvantage of you coming during the peak season is the fact that the national parks will be very congested. You can have more than 20 vehicles, safari vehicles in one national park. So if you feel like you want to be alone, you don't like congestion, and you want to do a safari in Uganda, then you can consider coming during the wet season or during the high season. But if your only vacation, if your only chance to come is during the peak season, then it's still okay, because not all the national parks will be packed. There are some national parks which will be still having a lot of few tourists, and then there are national parks that will be with very many tourists. So when you're coming to Uganda, you should also consider this. And then apart from the fact that the national park will be congested, also accommodation rates will be high, because the demand for these lodges and hotels will be high. So even the lodges and hotels will, of course, price their services at a higher price, since the demand is there. Yeah. So, but it's still not bad to come during the peak season, because it's the season when many tourists come to these two countries. Yes. So after we've discussed for you the different seasons, it's up to you to choose which season should you come to Uganda. And in case you have more questions that maybe I've not talked about on this very topic of seasons, of the best time to come to Uganda for a safari, you feel like there is something I've left out and you want to be enlightened on it, please go to Alps Trend Safaris website. You will see our contact there. You can give us a WhatsApp message and I will really answer your question. You can send us an email at info on Alps Trend Safari. Send us an email on info@alpstrendsafaris.com. We shall answer all your inquiries, all your questions, and then we can give you recommendations. In case you want to have a safari and you're not sure which season should you come, should you consider the wet season as I've described? Should you come during the high season? Should you come during the peak season? Get in touch with us and we shall give you the best recommendations. Thank you.